welcome into the Money Down NFL show presented by BetPrep on the Draft Network with me and Jaime Eisner. Brentley will rejoin us for a future show. This show brings you all the NFL Week 15 betting advice, tips, and trends you need to walk away to hopefully with some extra money in your pocket. We had lots of great college bowl games yesterday. Hope you all had a chance to enjoy. And we had a switch up. We had football, NFL football on Saturday, where we had the red-hot New England Patriots 7-game winning streak all of a sudden come to an end in Indianapolis as New England quarterback Mac Jones threw 2 interceptions against the Indianapolis Colts, who won the game, and many continued to sing the praises of none other than Jonathan Taylor. And what a week it's been, Jaime. We had games postponed. We had the COVID-19 outbreak worsening, and Urban Meyer getting the axe in Jacksonville. So lots to consume right now, right, Jaime?
A whole lot. A lot is changing. I feel personally very sorry for a lot of fantasy managers out there that are trying to navigate their lineups through the fantasy playoffs right now. But from an outside observer standpoint, got a lot of football coming up. You got football yesterday, NFL football yesterday, NFL football today. You got 2 games tomorrow, 2 games Tuesday, another game Thursday, games on Saturday. There's going to be so much NFL football this holiday season, which is great if you're trying to escape your family after you grab your plate.
There you go. Sometimes we do need a break from family. Like you said, we just get more football and football and football. So football fans right now, this is our happiest time of year. So give your football fan in your life, give them some time, all right? We're enjoying the games right now. We're really we're just happy. We're smiling from ear to ear, so all is good. And also, Jaime, something interesting, no team in the AFC has clinched a playoff berth, and that's not going to change in Week 15, so we know this Sunday won't change things, but things do get complicated for the postseason as the AFC playoff picture that realistically currently has about 13 teams who have a chance to make the playoffs, and several NFC teams, though, on the other end of the spectrum have opportunities to clinch playoff berths in Week 15 per NFL.com. So I think that makes today even more interesting, right?
Absolutely, it does. And again, that's going to extend into Monday and Tuesday. You've got the Browns playing. There are a lot of scenarios that are up in the air. The AFC is very chaotic, and if there's ever a conference and ever a year inside of that conference that you go, I don't really know who's going to come out of it, it's this year, which I think is incredibly exciting.
Yeah, I think it just shows football just keeps getting better and better. And we're really trying to find who the true kings are in each conference. And with that, Jaime, let's get into the games. We've got our first matchup, New Orleans Saints taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Division rivals meet tonight in Tampa when the Saints and Buccaneers meet for the second time this season. On the horizon for Tampa, Antonio Brown expected to rejoin the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday after suspension for violating COVID-19 protocol ends. Since the Bucs lost to the Washington football team, Tampa has been rolling, folks. They won 4 straight games, most recently an overtime victory against the Buffalo Bills. Running back Leonard Fournette, who is dealing with an ankle injury, is expected to play today. Saints come in with some momentum after snapping a 5-game losing streak against the Jets last week, if you can count that. And Tampa is a 10.5-point favorite. The total is 45 in this one. Jaime, give me your thoughts in this matchup.
So I'm staying away from the spread because these Saints-Bucks games are always very strange. If there's a team that, quote-unquote, has somebody's number, it has been the Saints versus the Bucks. But what I do like is the over. This number continues to drop. It's down to 45 right now. And I really like this because Tampa is scoring at a ridiculous pace this year, particularly at home. They're averaging 37.5 points per game at Raymond James Stadium, which is clearly number 1 in the league. And these two teams have had fairly high-scoring games the last handful of years that they've played against each other. Over their last 4 games, they're averaging 52.8 points per game in their matchups. And on this number of 45, the over would be 3-0-1 in their last 4. Give me the over here. I think Tampa's going to continue that home scoring.
All right. And like you said, these games are always so interesting. They make you ponder a lot, Jaime, because you just never know. And with someone who has family from New Orleans, these games are personal, all right? Better believe many fans will be tuning in to this game. For my pick in this matchup, since beating the Buccaneers earlier in the season, the Saints are 1-5 on the money line. The Bucs are on a 4-game winning streak. As I mentioned in the intro, Tampa is 5-0, folks, against the spread when they are double-digit favorites. So, Jaime, for this one, give me Buccaneers at -10.5 for my pick in this matchup. But again, this one's going to be good. I feel like Tom Brady, he knows these Saints games, they can go any way, and Saints fans feel a type of way. So I think many of us will be tuning into this one.
And for Tampa, look, this is one of those games where you can clinch the division tonight. And also, this is kind of get the monkey off your back a little bit. Like, this has been, not many teams have had any sort of streak against Tom Brady at any point. The Saints have given him a lot of problems in Tampa Bay, so this will be a big game for them to win. What's the quote? It's a T-shirt and hat game for them if they end up winning this one. So get your T-shirt and hat on your home field to end the night tonight, because you have a real, and we'll talk about in the next game, you have a lot of challenges if you want to get up to that number 1 seed in the NFC.
You're so right. This is a big one. And also, as we talk about Tom Brady's legacy, this is a big one tonight if he can, as you said, get that monkey off of his back. So definitely looking forward to that matchup. And now let's get ready for our next one. We've got the Green Bay Packers taking on the Baltimore Ravens. We've got another game in which we see Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson being a game-time decision. Most likely probably not playing. He's dealing with the bone bruise in his ankle, not an ankle sprain, according to Adam Schefter. Ravens also without wide receiver Sammy Watkins, who was placed on the reserve COVID-19 list, but they have activated defensive back Tony Jefferson, and wide receiver Marquise Brown is expected to play. Jimmy Smith also just added to the COVID-19 list for Baltimore. And while Aaron Rodgers has recently been trending for his non-traditional relationship, and President Joe Biden telling Packers fans to tell him he's got to get the vaccine, he is expected to play today. Packers and Ravens meeting up in Baltimore this afternoon. Green Bay right now, 8.5-point road favorite. Total in this game is 44, up from the opener of 42.5. So much going on in this game, Jamie. I'll tell you, folks in Baltimore really aren't looking forward to this one because the Ravens dealing with so many injuries and COVID-19, Jamie. So just give me your thoughts on this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big focus is Lamar Jackson, who at this point, the line, the books, and myself, nobody expects him to play. That's the indication. He has not practiced all week. I'd be shocked if he's out there. But they continue to lose player in their secondary. As you mentioned just before we went live, Jimmy Smith went on the COVID-19 reserve list. They're pulling up practice squad guys. Like, I can't even name some of the corners that are going to be starting opposite of the Packers wide receivers this week. It's going to be really, really rough for them. Despite the fact this line continues to push up, I'm still going to take the Packers to cover this 8.5-point spread. It's really, I can give you numbers and give you all this. It's very simple. They have a humongous quarterback advantage in this game. I don't see how the Ravens can stop Aaron Rodgers and company at all. And look, Tyler Huntley is fine as a backup. He can move the ball. He can do things well with his legs. There are times where he's going to look like Lamar Jackson light out there because the offense doesn't change very much with him versus Lamar. It's obviously not as potent, but I just meant the basic principles of the offense don't change much. But they just don't have the firepower to keep up with Green Bay, who gets a phenomenal matchup against a very banged-up secondary right now. This feels like a game where the Packers should just roll.
Yeah, no joke. I literally dusted my old Ravens jersey out of my closet, Jamie. And I was almost ready to go since we're getting guys off the street now. I mean, that's what Baltimore has come to. It's just getting bad. Ravens had this last season with injuries and now this season. And just like every time you get your hopes up for the Ravens, this happens. And also, I think this is a big game for Greg Roman, Jamie. Many people are talking about this offense, saying we're just not getting enough of this Baltimore Ravens offense. It's predictable. And they're talking about how the Ravens offensive line, Jamie, can't protect against that blitz. So I think it'll also be very telling for Greg Roman if there's anything that he can do if Tyler Huntley plays to somehow protect your quarterback, because you don't want Tyler Huntley to go down in this one, but also hopefully the Ravens can get something moving on offense. For my pick in this game, look, things are just not going well for the Baltimore Ravens as we close out the season. Baltimore, I feel for you. The Ravens have just not looked impressive for the past couple of weeks. They lost back-to-back games, uncharacteristic of the Ravens. The Packers, on the other hand, they're just rolling, y'all. The Packers look pretty good. It's a risky bet, but if I'm getting points with the Ravens at home, I'm taking them. All right. It's a risky bet, but I'm getting points with the Ravens at home. So I'm absolutely taking them. So give me the Ravens at +8.5 for my pick in this matchup. Sometimes you got to love home, Jamie. Come on. But definitely, it's the game that many will be looking for.
It's a big spread. You know, I liked it more when it was at 6.5 when we talked about this on our production meeting. So it's getting a little bit up there, but we'll see. It should be a fun game. It's a big game for Baltimore, too. Unfortunately, they just don't have enough horses, I think, to get the job done.
I know, it's crazy, but the AFC North, they're still on top of it right now. But like you said, it's a huge game for the Baltimore Ravens. But I'll tell you from fans' perspective, some of them don't even know if they want Baltimore in the playoffs. They're like, they don't know who they're going to have left, Jamie, at this point. It's like right now, Baltimore fans are just watching for entertainment. But you never know what can happen in football, folks. This is why we love the games. All right, Jamie, let's head to our next game. We've got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Division rivals Seattle and Los Angeles meet on Tuesday night now. Their game was rescheduled due to COVID issues. Rams, Jalen Ramsey got the news. He tested negative and is good to go for this matchup. The Los Angeles Rams activated 6 players from the reserve COVID-19 list on Saturday, including OBJ, a turning point for their massive team-wide outbreak. Rams still, though, have 25 players on that list. Oh, it makes you go, The Rams are 6.5-point favorites, and the total is 45.5 for this one. Jamie, break it down for me. Who are you going with in this one?
I think it's clearly the Rams for me. And look, when we talked about this a couple days ago, this line was 4. And obviously, since they've since moved the game, more players have been cleared. It's now 6.5. But I still think that's not enough. I think the Rams are a significantly better team than Seattle. And I know these games it's an interdivision game. These teams always play each other tough. It's exciting. But when you just look at the talent level between these two teams and you strip the names away, the Rams are a far more than a 6.5-point home favorite. They're a top 10 home scoring team in the NFL, top 5 overall. They're 4-1 against the spread against Seattle in their last 5. And they're quite frankly just a better team from top to bottom. They're going to get some players back off of this COVID list. They'll probably get some more between now and Tuesday. As long as this total stays under a touchdown, I absolutely love it. Give me the Rams to cover in this game.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Jamie. And like you said, hopefully they get some more players back. I think these new NFL protocols pertaining to COVID have more teams hopeful that they can get some of their guys and players back. For my pick in this one, the Rams are coming off one of their better wins of the season. This week they faced an old division foe in the Seattle Seahawks, so we always love this football game. It's tough to back either of these teams against the spread. NFC West games are 5-4 to the under this season, and the Seahawks are 9-3-1 to the under on the season. That being said, as I mentioned, this game also moved to Tuesday night, so lots of things to consider in this one. But for this one, give me the under 45.5 for my pick in this matchup. Again, this one should also be good. I feel like we got a lot of good games this week. If COVID-19 can be nice to us and give us some players back and get them back healthy for these teams, Jamie. But this should also be a good one.
It really should be. But these new policies that have been enacted we could save opinions elsewhere, but the meat and potatoes of this is more players are going to be able to play and more players are going to be activated quicker. That has been the biggest news of the last week. So from a pure football perspective, it's really good news.
Right, for football, like you said. And this is what they want, right? We want competitive games. We know we're in the playoff push right now and that these games really matter. And also for fans, right? We want competitive games for fans to see. So as you said, the new protocol is helping more players get back to the football playing field. I know many have opinions on this, but it just is what it is, folks. And this is where we are right now in the National Football League. All right, let's head to our next matchup. We've got the Tennessee Titans taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers host the Titans today at Heinz Field. A win today for the Titans will put them at 10-4 and tied with the Kansas City Chiefs for the best record in the conference. Got to think, though, TJ Watt and company are going to try to get to the quarterback as Ryan Tannehill has been sacked a total of 37 times this season. Multiple Tennessee starters have already been ruled out. Titans are already without A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry. When this line opened, the Titans were a 2.5-point favorite. As of right now, the Steelers are a 1-point favorite. The total is 43.5 in this one. All right, Jamie. So I think this is also going to be another game that many are looking forward to. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, this is one of those ones where I'm not going to call it a good game. I'm going to call it an important game. I don't think this is going to be aesthetically pleasing for a lot of people watching it, but it's obviously a huge factor for the AFC playoffs, particularly on the Pittsburgh Steelers side of things as they try to continue to hang on to the edge of the wild card race here. You mentioned TJ Watt and getting to Ryan Tannehill and sacking the quarterback, and I'm going to go with defense here. I'm going to take the first half under, and it's 22.5 right now in this game. The Pittsburgh Steelers have the number 1 home defense in the first half of games in the NFL right now, allowing an average of just 7.0 points per game in the first half at Heinz Field. Both these teams are averaging only 21 points per game in the first halves themselves. I think there's going to be a little bit of a feeling out period. I think defense is going to win early, probably because of a lot of the injuries that both teams are facing. And I think we're going to get a pretty low-scoring game overall, but particularly in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, this really could be a slugfest, especially if you know these two teams and the style that they play football. And Pittsburgh always seems to be that team that somehow, some way, they're going to always kind of be at least in the playoff picture, or somehow scratching into the picture. But somehow, Jamie, people still have questions about Mike Tomlin. And I'm like, what else does this man need to prove as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Like, I just don't get it, folks. I don't know. Put it in the comments, I guess, if you have something against Mike Tomlin, but I just don't know
Kelsey,
how.
There are probably 28 teams right now that would fire their head coach to hire Mike Tomlin.
Right.
You could question a lot of things. If Mike Tomlin and the Steelers somehow finish above 500, or I guess at 500 or above because they have that tie.
Yeah.
This season with that team and that quarterback with that arm right now, that is a tremendous accomplishment. It really is. That team is 6-winning.
There you go, Jamie. Look, we rest our case, y'all. We rest our case, folks. It just is what it is. Many would like to have Mike Tomlin. I'm sure if there was a way, Jacksonville would probably even somehow like to bring him in. I know that won't happen, but look, Jacksonville's in shambles right now, so you would love somebody like a Mike Tomlin who can get things together. All right, for my pick in this game, this is one of the harder games of the week to handicap. Everything says Titans to me, but the line movement and injury concerns, they just have me on the battlefield, folks. I just got to be honest with you. With that being said, there is still value on the total. The Titans are 5-1 to the under on the road this season. So give me over 43.5 for my pick in this matchup for this game. But like Jamie said, it might not be the most aesthetically pleasing, but it might come down to the wire, folks. You just never know when you have these two teams playing. All right, Jamie, let's go to our next game. We've got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the New York Football Giants. Dallas Cowboy fans will look to take over Giants Stadium today when the Giants and Cowboys meet at MetLife Stadium. After 2 games on the road, the New York Giants are home to face off in an NFC East battle. Cowboys coming off a win against the Washington football team. Giants come into this game with a backup quarterback and roughly 24 players on IR and 8 players on the reserve COVID-19 list. Dallas is an 11-point road favorite in this game. The total is 44. Jamie, you got NFC East teams meeting again, an important matchup. And, Dallas is trying to continue building that lead within the division. So what do you think about this one?
I'm going to take the under here, and you're going to hear myself and Tommy the Hitman talk about this during one of our commercial breaks here coming up, but this is one he and I are in agreement on. Everything about this game screams under. Dallas is 6-1 to the under in the last 7. Giants are 6-1-1 in their last 8. Dak has been banged up and hasn't quite looked like himself, and he's got a lot of criticism from Ryan Clark and some others this past week about how he's holding the Giants offense back. The Cowboys offense back, and on the Giants offensive side, you're playing a backup quarterback. They're talking about Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm mixing snaps and guys taking over for each other. It's just an absolute mess right now. I don't think Dallas is going to have any trouble winning this football game, but I don't expect them to put up 30 or 40 plus points in this game, and I'm not sure how the Giants get above the teens. So I'm going to take the under in this game. This feels like one of those ones where Cowboys can win by a couple touchdowns, but the overall total is hanging around the upper 30s or low 40s.
Yeah, New York football teams, they've been through it this season. I mean, there's no other way to put it, Jamie. And yeah, Cowboys fans are talking about taking over the stadium. We had a bit of that in D.C. last week, folks. What's going on? We're just letting Dallas fans run ravishly throughout the NFL. But I guess, look, they're happy right now, so they are supporting their team. For my pick in this one, you can handicap this week for the Cowboys, much like last week. Dak Prescott, as Jamie mentioned, despite not playing well as of late, is 18-8 against the spread versus NFC East team, so something to look out for. Prescott is 7-3 on the money line and 8-2 against the spread versus the Giants. And one of those against the spread losses was in the game that he broke his ankle. All that to say, give me Cowboys at -11 for my pick in this matchup. But many fans will be watching this game closely, especially in my neck of the woods, to see if the Cowboys get this win. All right, Jamie, that's a wrap on our top NFL game picks. And coming up next, folks, we've got an all-new segment. You're not going to want to miss it. Stay tuned because more of the Money Down is next.
A sentence I didn't think I would utter in the year 2021. Playing in the Cheez-It Bowl, the Clemson Tigers taking on Iowa State.
Oh, hold on. The
What?
Cheez-It Bowl has the 9-3 Clemson Tigers. It's not like they were 6-6 or anything like that.
I know, but the Cheez-It Bowl, no offense to the Cheez-It Bowl, but I think there were some higher aspirations for Clemson.
There were, but I have the Tigers in this game. I know Iowa State, they play good defense. They got that 3-3-5.
You don't care about.
Yep.
You don't care about any of
No,
that.
I don't care. I don't care about that defense. I do think that Clemson is going to take care of business. They get a chance to continue a stretch of 10-win seasons. So give me the Tigers 35 points.
Before you give your pick, Henry, I know you're listening to this. No. Okay. Go ahead, Kyle.
If Clemson throws the kitchen sink at Breece Hall, what else does Iowa State have to hang their hat on against a really good defense?
Charlie Kolar. I mean, I hear you, man. I hear you.
Okay.
Brent Venables coaching. I mean, how bought in are these players? They lost both their coordinators. Looking forward to Clemson being added to the list for Kyle. I've got 3 points on Iowa State to win this game.
Oh, my goodness.
Not a ton. I don't feel super good about it, but I certainly didn't feel great about Clemson, given just what feels like a big shift for that program. So Iowa State, everyone's back. Matt Campbell continuing, veteran quarterback, talent on both sides of the ball. I think they can make this a game.
Before we get into the Alamo Bowl, Henry, I know you're listening to this behind the scenes. I need a gif of Joe's face when the 35 points came up for Kyle and Clemson. I need that. ASAP.
I didn't expect it.
Post-show.
I didn't think you wouldn't pick Clemson. Like, I didn't think that was out of the realm of possibility, but 35 points was one that got a reaction from me.
Got to go on the teams I know best. I'm putting my instead of putting all of my heavy hitting points games on teams that I probably watched once or twice this year, like Eastern Michigan and whatever Tom, Dick, and Harry school down the street that's playing this weekend, I wanted to make sure that I had my big points on teams that I knew better. And I know Clemson and I know Iowa State.
Welcome back into the Money Down NFL show presented by BetPrep on the Draft Network's YouTube channel with me, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, and Jaime Eisner. Now, as we wind down the NFL season, it's now time to take a look at the NFL futures market. Today, we will take a look at our picks for MVP, Super Bowl, and the first overall pick in the NFL draft. Jaime, I hope you're ready. This is the first time we're doing it on the show. I'm excited. I feel like it is that time. Everyone's talking about it, right?
Yeah, and look, it's time to be a little bit innovative. The league had to move some things around because of COVID-19, and that affected a lot of the player props. So the player prop, we will be back next week, everybody. But this was a really good time to take a little reset here with about a quarter of the season left to kind of see where some of these top things lie. And I'm excited about it because the numbers change every week, but they look significantly different than when we looked at these last several, I guess it was a couple months ago now.
Yeah, like you said, it's a perfect time to do it. And as you said, especially right now with COVID-19 and the way it's going through players, you just don't know everything, folks. You don't know who's going to actually suit up. I want to start, Jaime, with the MVP award. I want to get your pick, but I wanted to note that in last night's game, Colts linebacker Darius Leonard, and when he was asked about his team's win, you know what he said? He said, Jonathan Taylor is the MVP. He said there's actually absolutely no question about it. He said what he's doing right now in the NFL, there's absolutely no question that he is the MVP. All right. So he felt very prominent about that. But that being said, Jaime, who is your pick for MVP?
It's not Jonathan Taylor. I appreciate him sticking up for his guy. And look, Jonathan Taylor's been absolutely phenomenal, but it's really tough in general. And look, we could talk about our MVP versus who's going to win and all that other fun stuff. The reality is a running back's not going to win this award if there are any competent quarterbacks that are available. Right now I'm looking at the stats to see what Tom Brady doesn't lead the league in right now as the passer. He is my pick. He's the favorite. It's boring, but he's the favorite for the right reasons. He leads the league again, I'm looking through his stats right now. Leads the league in passing touchdowns. Leads the league in passing yards. Leads the league in attempts and completions. He has been absolutely phenomenal on a team that could win their division today, could be the number one seed in the NFL when it is all said and done. He's truly having a remarkable season, and he had to deal with injuries at times to Chris Godwin, to Antonio Brown, plus suspension with Antonio Brown. We've seen the reemergence of that offense. It's tough to argue against Tom Brady. I know he's a minus 170 favorite right now. It's kind of boring there, but he's got a clear path forward that if he just continues to be somewhat to the level where he is now, he's just going to blow by everybody else. There just hasn't been another quarterback that has really jumped up into that race close enough for me at this point to say, I'm going to put my money elsewhere. So I'm going to take Tom Brady here. If I had to, again, our favorite is if we had to make a bet on one, where will we put it?
Right.
For this point, I'd have to put it on Tom Brady.
And I think it's a smart one to do. I mean, look, you said it all, Jamie. I mean, can you ever go against Tom Brady? He continues to defy the odds. He's now the odds favorite to win the league's most prestigious individual award, and rightfully so. As Jamie said, I mean, Brady has been consistently the best player in the league this year. He just continues to do the impossible, folks. And let's be honest, if you have haters, it means you're doing something right. And Brady has a lot of haters because he's always doing something right. So also give me Tom Brady. I feel like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you disagree with us, put it in the comment section. But look, right now, as Jamie said, it's hard to go against somebody that's leading everything. I mean, what else is there? All right, now that we did our MVP, let's go to now our value MVP value player. Give me your value pick, Jamie.
One more point on the Brady thing is he's also my preseason pick, so I'm a little bit biased.
Well, there you go.
I like to be proven right on that front. My value, this was interesting. So when I look at value picks, I'm looking at players that are 10-1 or greater. If we're going to kind of throw our good friend Brad Feinberg uses the term pizza bet. So if I'm going to throw like a $20 on something, just you want something that leaves you a good enough return. Kyler Murray is that player for me. And look, I understand you can make the argument that, the Cardinals went 2-1 without him. That probably hurts his argument beyond the fact that he missed 3 games, which was obviously going to hurt him. But there's a very realistic chance that the Arizona Cardinals can win their division. They could finish as the number 1 seed in the NFC. And I think if they continue to succeed and to excel without DeAndre Hopkins, who, by the way, has been a really good player this year, but hasn't been as good as he was last year. I think the loss it hurts. And I think it's going to hurt them more in the postseason than it is the rest of the regular season. But it's probably overstated in terms of how big of a factor that he's been for Kyler Murray this year. Kyler's progression this year and using multiple weapons has been the biggest thing that's impressed me. So if I'm looking at a player right now at 15-1 odds that could have the number 1 seed in the NFC, could lead could be that quarterback, and really have a good run here with the narrative behind him, particularly with Hopkins out, I'll sprinkle a few bucks there on Kyler Murray. He's intriguing to me of the guys that are values at 10-1 odds or greater.
Well said. And they say great minds think alike. So it should be no shock that I also have Kyler Murray as my MVP value.
We did not talk about this before.
We didn't. So, me and Jamie haven't talked all week, folks. All right. It's been a week. I promise you. And if you've watched the show, me and Jamie don't always align. So this is actually really good for us, Jamie. We're aligning. And the words of Sweetie, Jamie this week is my best friend. All right. It just is what it is. Because look, we're just good, folks. But yes, as you said, you said all the reasons. Kyler Murray has had MVP talent, played so much, but like you said, missing those games may hurt his chances. And also, I got to tell your friend Brad that if we're doing pizza bet, he's got to start going to Domino's, getting the $5.99 deal. I'm $12 pizza bets right now, Jamie. I get my 2 for $5.99, and I'm a happy person on football Sundays. I just had to put that out.
Kelsey, I'm in Chicago. There ain't no $5 pizza here. It's all like here in South, it's all expensive. All expensive.
We gotta get you
I miss the good old days of an actual $5 pizza somewhere. Maybe a $5 slice nice. I can get if I walk out. I don't know how I'm gonna get a $5 pizza.
Ridiculous. We gotta do better. New York dollar slices. Folks. There you go. So we gotta get you back to the East Coast. East Coast people, we gotta save money somehow. Rent's too high, so I save my money on my pizza. All right, Jamie. Next, let's go to our Super Bowl odds. Please give me first your pick for the Super Bowl champion.
So for me, I don't think the AFC is winning this. So I just think the teams in the NFC at the very top are the better teams. I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers right now. I feel really good about what they're able to put together. Aaron Rodgers is playing at a really high level. They're starting to get some players back on offense. And they're still going to get some key pieces back, I'm presuming, before the end of the season. Guys like Jair Alexander, David Bakhtiari, which are absolutely monstrous for their playoff hopes. I am assuming both of those players come back and are playing at a high level for them by the time we get to mid-January and beyond. As we've talked about, they have a path to be the number 1 seed, but they definitely have a path to at least play a couple home games at Lambeau en route to the NFC Championship game if they don't get the number 1 seed. So I think they're going to be the team to beat. They've got the elite quarterback. They've got elite weapons on offense. The defense has been playing a little bit better, and I think if they get healthy on that side of the ball, which it seems like Bakhtiari and Alexander, they're inching closer and closer and closer to being there, I think the Packers are ever so slightly the team to beat in an absolutely awesome NFC right now.
Yeah, the NFC is looking good, folks. It just is what it is. They're playing some really good football, and leading that pack has to be the Packers. I also have the Green Bay Packers for my pick as well. As Jamie said, they just look like the best team right now in the league for the majority of the season. So looking good on both sides of the football, folks. Green Bay, they've got the quarterback, they've got the veteran experience. So check. And to pull it off, they can pull it off, but I'm just kind of watching Aaron Rodgers and that toe injury. Somehow we keep talking about Aaron Rodgers' feet. So that might be the only thing. But you know what? He had that doppelganger in the stands the other game. So maybe if Aaron Rodgers is hurt, hey, maybe the guy can play some football and fill in for him. Maybe he has the same skill talent, right, Jamie? There's hope.
There's hope. But here's one thing I know. In this farewell FU tour to Green Bay, really not to Green Bay, the Green Bay front office. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has any animosity towards the city or the fans or anything like that. To the FU tour to the front office, the last thing he's going to do is see time for Jordan Love to play. Like, he is going to have to be like was with the COVID thing, like literally told you cannot play. I don't expect he's going to miss that. We're going to hear about him talking about the toe on Pat McAfee show every single week because he loves to remind everybody how hurt he is. But I don't think he's going to miss any time unless he's actually by rule forced out of games.
That's a good saying, and maybe, you know what, we all need to give sympathy to some toes. I don't know. Maybe that's what Aaron Rodgers wants. We need to be more sensitive about our feet, folks.
That's what Rex Ryan's been saying all along, guys.
Lesson. We should have listened to Rex, folks. Now we get Aaron Rodgers and a toe profile picture and everything else. It's not my fault. I promise. All right, Jamie, let's now go to your value pick for Super Bowl champion.
So I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here because I really wanted to pick an AFC team for value just because I feel like it's so open that you can make the argument for a lot of different teams. The problem is the books know that as well, and there's not a lot of really good odds on those AFC teams. I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Rams here. They're 11-1, so they hit that threshold of being a double-digit to one favorite for me. It's not inconceivable that they can still win that division. They're one game back of Arizona. There's some tiebreaker scenarios you have to work through, but they could win that division. And if they do, that I think to me makes it a more clear path because I don't think either the Rams or the Cardinals are going to be able to win 3 road games to get the Super Bowl, but they probably can win 2 or 3 home games. So if they're able to win that division, get the probably 2 seed. I don't see them being a 1 seed team, although it is possible at this stage, but I don't think they're going to be a bye team. At 11-1, they've got a really good quarterback. They're going to get a little bit healthier across the board. Hopefully, it looks like a lot of these COVID issues are actually going to be behind them by the time they play again. I could foresee them being in a scenario where they're able to overtake Arizona for the top of the NFC West and then get to play at home, which again is not so much they have a home field advantage. It's more so they just don't have to go on the road. They don't have to go to some of these other places. If they can avoid Lambeau in particular, a bad weather place, I think that would be really good. Stafford's record in the cold is bad, as we've talked about on the show before. So to me, they're going to have to try to play as many home games as possible. But they have enough talent for me to say that at 11-1, I would put a Little Caesars pizza bet on them.
There we go. See, there is cheap pizza. It does exist, Jamie, but it makes complete sense. Let's be honest. The Rams on paper, when they combined this team, we really thought they had a Super Bowl type team when you see the names on the roster. Now, I know for all teams, look, sometimes the paper version looks much better than what's on the field, but you said all the reasons. And if we're being fair, last year at the same time, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got hot and went on to win it all. So don't be surprised if the Rams are that team this year. Again, it matters when you get hot. And I'd rather be hot at the end of the season than at the beginning of the season. As some of these NFL teams 100%. Are figuring out very quickly. So the Rams, I also had them for my value pick, folks. So hopefully this helps you all as you begin to make these odds and hopefully take it to the bank. All right, Jamie, let's go to our next one. Let's see if our minds continue to think alike. First overall pick, give me first your pick, and then we'll go to our value picks for this one.
I mean, we are the Draft Network at the end of the day. It'd be remiss if we didn't at least talk about the only draft prop that's still available right now this early in the year. It's the number 1 pick. Yes. Look, the actual favorite at the books, pretty much across the board now, is Michigan's Aiden Hutchinson, who's had an absolutely phenomenal season. Love his talent. We have a great write-up on him. On a scouting report, and Justin Mello did a really good interview with him breaking down who he is as a pass rusher. So please check that out on draftnetwork.com if you haven't already. But now that those cheap plugs are out of the way, I'm actually not going to go with Hutchinson here. I'm going to go with the guy that has been considered the number 1 prospect pretty much up until about 2 weeks ago, and that's Oregon's Kayvon Thibodeau. I really think that just his potential upside is what's going to really intrigue teams at the very top of the draft. There was that Josina Anderson report a couple of days ago about Thibodeau being, if the draft were to happen today, that would be the pick from Detroit. So much is going to change between now and then. And obviously we're going to have the combine. We're going to have all pro days. There's going to be so many things that change. But I think to me, we're talking about a classic at the very top of this draft, who's got the higher upside, who's got the higher floor. And Aiden Hutchinson seems to have a little bit of the higher floor as we stand right now. Thibodeau seems to have the higher ceiling. I'm going to go with the higher ceiling guy with the number 1 overall pick there. I still think it's going to end up being Detroit, and I don't think they're going to be able to pass him up. Can't go wrong with either guy, but now that I'm getting plus odds on Kayvon, I'm going to take that.
Right. Well said. And it looks like we're still in synergy, folks. And where I promise you, Jamie is in Chicago. I'm in DC. So we really have not connected. But I also have the same one for the favorite, Kayvon. Like the Oregon Ducks pass rusher has been regarded as the best NFL prospect in the draft for a while. You talked about the reports from the Lions. So, I mean, you said it all, Jamie. You took everything. Just take it to the bank, folks. It's looking really good. And he's playing some really good football. And look, we know a little bit about what we're talking about, folks, because as Jamie said, this is the Draft Network. So hopefully you guys are also tuning in to know about what's happening with the NFL draft. All right, we're going to see if we're staying consistent, Jamie, because we've been on point so far. We're going to make sure, we're going to see if you understood the assignment for this next one. Give me your value pick for the first overall.
So I have to go quarterback here because, I mean, the reality is there's only certain positions that go number 1 overall. Like it's most likely going to be an edge rusher, a quarterback, a tackle. Like that's just typically what it ends up being. Sometimes it's different, but it's pretty much what it's going to be. So if it's not going to be one of those 2 premier edge rushers in Hutchinson and Thibodeau, it's going to have to be a quarterback. And so now I'm trying to see like who could be QB1, and that battle is going to be unbelievably exciting to watch throughout this pre-draft process because we've played a whole season and we still don't know, and we've got different names now. Like we weren't even talking about Kenny Pickett a little bit ago, and now he is actually the favorite now of all the quarterbacks to go in number 1. I'm going to go the other way here, though. I'm going to go Matt Corral here. He's 11-1. My thought is more so of like if you're going to take a quarterback number 1 there, this is again the upside versus high floor argument. Kenny Pickett to me seems to be the high floor guy. And while I could see him being the first quarterback coming off the board, I can't see a team spending the number 1 overall pick on him. So while Pickett would be my favorite as of right now today to be the first quarterback taken, I don't think he's got quite enough upside to be a number 1 overall pick. So if we're going to go away from the pass rushers, if we're going to take a chance, I'm going to go with the player that I think has the most upside of this. I'm not particularly a Malik Willis guy. I like a lot of things that he does, but I have a little bit more concerns about him than I think most do. So I'm going to go Matt Corral here. If there's going to be a quarterback that goes number 1 overall, which again seems unlikely at this point, I think it's going to be him.
All right. You gave a lot of good reasons, but I'm actually going with the reasons that you said you didn't go with Kenny Pickett. It's like, there you go. Yes, we finally differentiated. All right. See, I told you folks, that's how you know we didn't do cahoots on these picks together. But you said it. If the Lions are another team want to select a quarterback with the top overall pick, it's most likely going to be the Pitt Panthers signal caller. Like we know we're in a league of quarterbacks. People like quarterbacks, and they're trying to find that quarterback to hopefully make a franchise quarterback. DC, I know we had a bad relationship with our last top quarterback, but that's another topic for another day. But some teams are got to trust in somebody. And as you said, there's some quarterbacks right now in the league that some teams just want to go like this, bye-bye to, JB. So right now I am liking Pickett for my value pick. And as you said, a lot of people are kind of high on him, but it depends on what you want in a quarterback. But it should be very interesting. I can't believe we're like even talking about the draft now. That's got me so excited. It's crazy. Jamie, always one of the great things to think about. And hopefully COVID lets us be great and have a draft in person this year. I don't know the way things are going, Jamie, a little bit scary, but Omicron, I don't know. Go away soon. All right. We're getting vaccinated. We're getting boosted. So hopefully things get better. That will do it for this segment, folks. Don't go anywhere as we will return with the BetPrep breakdown. Stay tuned to the NFL Money Down Show. More is next.
And welcome back to a very, tumultuous week. We are recording this right now on Thursday afternoon. And given the way this week has gone so far, a lot will change between now and when you're watching this during the Money Down on Sunday because of COVID. But let's try to give you some of the best bets for the weekend and kind of watch how these lines change up until kickoff depending on COVID stuff. Let's get right into it. The Tennessee Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers is a game with a lot of playoff implications on it this week. You like the underdog in this matchup. Tell us why.
Yeah, the Titans, I like the Steelers, and it's because the Titans continue to be, in my opinion, the league's most overrated team. The market is still treating this as if this is an average team, but to me, it's a well below average team. And, you look at the win that they had last week against Jacksonville, and you say, oh, an impressive shutout win, but the Titans only had 3.7 yards per play. This is an offense that struggled all season. They have the fewest amount of 20 or more yard gains in the entire NFL. And that was with having Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and Julio Jones for a good part of the season. Mike Tomlin, 21-9 against the spread as an underdog. The rest situation is favorable towards Pittsburgh. The spot with Pittsburgh needing the game like blood is favorable towards Pittsburgh. All my work likes the Steelers. I think the Titans are the most overrated team in the league. Let's take Pittsburgh plus 1.5.
All right, game number 2, an NFC East showdown between the Cowboys and the Giants. The Giants will be on their backup quarterback, no Daniel Jones this week. And on the other side, Dak Prescott hasn't quite looked like himself since coming back from that calf injury. But that plays into why you like the under here.
Yeah, so I just think that the market isn't fully accounting for Dak Prescott and Zeke not being fully healthy for Dallas. And Dallas is really becoming a defensive-driven team, kind of similar to how the Chiefs have started to become in recent weeks. Steve Young recently broke down that he doesn't think Dak Prescott is healthy. And the stats say it. Dak's 27th in EPA per play after ranking 10th before the injury. The Cowboys offense last 4 weeks, 6 touchdowns, which is in the same category as the Jets, teams like the Jags, Texans. So it's not good. The Giants' offensive struggles, they speak for themselves. Mike Glennon thrown for 5.3 and 4.3 yards per attempt the last 2 weeks. Dallas's defense is on fire now that they have their pass rushers, Randy Gregory, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Micah Parsons healthy. Giants, every single home game this year has went under. I expect the trend to continue.
All right, let's wrap it up here with the third game. The game is the week, as nobody's calling it right now. The Houston Texans and Jacksonville Jaguars. But if I do know one thing, usually when 2 terrible teams get together, you get some entertaining football. But what do you like in this matchup?
Yeah, so Trevor Lawrence is regressing. Threw 4 interceptions last week. He's thrown for 6.3 yards per attempt or less in his last 7 starts. And the Jags aren't doing him any favors with his supporting cast. Yes, Urban Meyer was a cancer in the locker room, and I do expect the Jags to have an A-plus effort for this game, but the market's accounting for it, whereas they moved the line from 3.5 to 5.5 after the Urban Meyer firing. I just don't think that there's much of a difference between these two teams. The Jags haven't scored more than 23 points in any game this entire season. They're my 30th ranked team. Houston's my 32nd, but there's not this big of a difference between my 30th and 32nd ranked team. Take Houston plus 5.5.
There you have it. Tommy the Hitman, Tommy the Hitman, NFL Sharp over at BetPrep. No player props this week because of the COVID situation. So missed out on our video with Brad Feinberg. He will be back next week. But Tommy, thank you for joining me. And hopefully we have a steady path from here on out until kickoff.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for staying with us, and welcome back to the Money Down, airing live on the Draft Network's YouTube channel, presented by BetPrep. It's now time to welcome in Patrick Everson of Props US in conjunction with BetPrep for our BetPrep breakdown. Patrick, lots of action happening right now in the NFL as we've had games rescheduled and the COVID-19 outbreak continued to ravage through the league. So I'm sure you are a busy man this week, right, Patrick?
It's a little crazy, as it is for everybody. Thanks for having me this morning, Kelsey. I'm actually a little quieter today. I'm coming to you from the Risk Room of BetMGM Nevada, which is kind of a cool spot.
Nice.
This is where the sausage is made, if you will.
We like sausage here, all right, Patrick? So exciting for that. And we see less action happening in the background, but we're going to bring you all the action. Patrick, let's start with our first game. New Orleans Saints taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We know Bucs wide receiver Brashad Perriman is being placed on COVID-19 list, and he's out for Sunday night's game. So lots of people looking at this game. And as we know, the Saints and Buccaneers, those games have always been pretty interesting. I know Brady wants to get this win today, but where is the money on the Saints versus Buccaneers game tonight?
Yeah, I'm sure he does, since New Orleans beat this team earlier in the season. This was 11.5 to 10.5, back to 11.5 at BetMGM Nevada. And tickets are running pretty close for the Sunday night game. But again, it's early. We're talking early Sunday. This has got all day to percolate. And on top of that, with the Bucs are going to be at the tail end of a lot of parlays, money line parlays, and teasers. So I can almost guarantee you it's going to be heavy need to the Bucs, especially if the favorites do what they did last Sunday. But again, tickets pretty close on this game for the point spread betting. But money 5-1 in favor of the Bucs, and again, parlays, teaser tickets running over 3-1 in favor of Tampa Bay. And there was even some sharp plays. A sharp player at BetMGM Nevada felt like 10.5 was worth firing on, so he fired on the Buccaneers minus 10.5, which is what helped push that number up. And a little bit of sharp play on the under on this game as well. And tickets and money kind of running in favor of the under on this one. I'm kind of curious about that. If it gets much lower, I might be thinking about the over in that game. But there's no question that BetMGM and multiple other books are going to be probably rooting hard for the Saints tonight, and how hard will depend on how well the favorites do the rest of the day.
Yes. Oh, you got me curious now. So I'm like, what to do. Still time left, folks, to consider that game. All right, Patrick, let's go to our next one. Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Denver Broncos. We know the Cincinnati Bengals had 2 disappointing losses in a row at home. Now they had less on the road to face off against the Denver Broncos. Denver is a team, Patrick, that started off hot and then lost 4 straight, and then they've been like on a win and lose path. The Bengals, on the other end, started off hot, and since then, however, they just won 2 of their last 6 games. So what are you hearing on the Bengals versus Broncos game?
Yeah, the Bengals are hard to figure out. I feel like that's a team that's better than its record based on some of the opponents they've beaten. But look, the record is what the record is. That's what counts in the end. This game, definitely sharp play on Denver. This was at BetMGM Nevada here behind me. They opened this game minus 1.5, got up to minus 3, and Scott Shelton said a really sharp account bet the Broncos at minus 1.5, one of their sharper players here at BetMGM Nevada. However, he said the ticket count was actually 2-1 in favor of the Bengals, and really good two-way on the money, almost dead even. Just some sharp play helped drive Denver up on this game. So kind of an interesting game, two-way action, but some early sharp money on Denver in this one.
Yeah, hopefully that's a good matchup for folks to watch. So very interesting, Patrick. Thank you for that. And also, next I want to talk about the Green Bay Packers versus Baltimore Ravens. Lots of folks talking about this game. We know both quarterbacks both didn't practice this week. All right, no Aaron Rodgers or Lamar Jackson practicing. Lamar, there's still questions about, but many think Tyler Huntley will get the go-ahead nod. The Green Bay Packers looking to be the NFC North champions for the 3rd straight season if they can beat the Ravens. And right now, Ravens are ravished. Their DBs have been ravished. The Ravens are a team that's continuing to deal with so much injuries and a growing COVID-19 list. All that to say, where is the money on the Packers versus Ravens game, Patrick?
It's all Packers. And if I saw correctly, and I didn't have a chance to look before I jumped on, I think this is up to 8.5 at some places. So the odds makers, if it hasn't been announced formally yet, the odds makers have certainly made the decision that Lamar Jackson is not, or made the conclusion that Lamar Jackson is not playing today. And this was already running heavy to the Packers on tickets and money. BetMGM Nevada, Scott Shelton told me tickets 7-1, money 10-1 on the Packers. He said sharp and public play on the same side, because you might recall early in the week, this line got as low as 4.5. And that's where some of the sharper play jumped in on Green Bay, taking that 4.5. And now you're looking at, 7.5, 8, 8.5, I think at some spots now. Parlays, teasers, big time run into the Packers. And also a little bit of money on the over in this game as well. But no question, this is a similar situation to the Bucs. All the parlays, money line parlays, teasers are likely going to be running to Green Bay. The Ravens are going to be a need for multiple books today.
Yeah, Ravens just dealing with a lot right now. Lots of Ravens fans are going to have to get used to a lot of new names on that Ravens roster with all that they're dealing with in the injury front. All right, let's next talk about the Houston Texans taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know if many will be tuning into this one, but the Texans and Jaguars, while we all know they're not headed for the playoffs, they are 2 divisional rivals. Patrick, where is the money on the Texans versus Jaguars game?
It's the junk bowl today, with two teams battling with Detroit for the number one NFL draft pick. I know you guys were talking about the draft a little earlier. These teams are going to be heavily involved early in that draft and maybe right at the beginning. This is interesting. Jaguars got up to 5.5 a couple of times at BetMGM Nevada, went back to 4.5. I think they're 5.5 now. Here at BetMGM Nevada, 2-1 tickets. Jaguars, just a little bit more money on the Jags. And I think, well, in fact, I know, I've just flipped back through my notes, but I believe there was some sharp play. Yeah, sharp play on the Jags definitely helped move that along a little bit. I'm looking for sharp play on Jags at -3.5, so early in the week. And getting ahead of the news of Urban Meyer getting fired. And a lot of people, the wisdom seems to be, or Scott Shelton said, the angle seems to be they got rid of their awful coach, and they're going to respond by playing well this week. And I think some bettors are thinking that, and that's what's helped drive the money and the tickets on this and help put this number up to Jags, 5.5. Kind of a dead number, but it's moved up nonetheless.
Yeah, you never know what you can get from a team after the coach is gone. I feel like the same thing for the Raiders after John Gruden left and they won their game after that. So you have to see how a team deals with adversity. As always, Patrick Everson, special thanks as always for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next week. And to all of you watching, we've still got more show. Coming up next, we've got our Go for Two picks and this week's Bold Bet. So stay tuned to the Draft Network because more of the Money Down is next. Hello, everyone, and welcome back into the Money Down, where we will now turn our attention to the leaderboard after last week's football action. All right, Jamie, let's see how we're doing. So right now, Jamie is reigning supreme. I got to catch up, folks. That's why, all right, this week I'm hopefully feeling it. But Jamie, look at you on the positive. All right. We love to see that, Jamie. So special congrats to you. And hopefully I get back up sooner than later. I don't like being on the other end of the spectrum, Jamie.
I've been stacking some profitable weeks. It's been close on some of these, but nailing both the Go for Twos last week really, really helped.
Definitely that push. And talking about Go for Two, Jamie, let's get into our Go for Two picks. Give me your first one.
I would say an interesting one for me. It's Deebo Samuel under 4.5 receptions. And for those of you that listen to the TDN Fantasy Podcast with myself and Chris Schubert, who's hanging out behind the scenes right now, You know how we've talked about the fundamental change to the way that Deebo Samuel has been used in San Francisco's offense over the last month of the season. He's basically being used as almost exclusively a running back. He doesn't even have 5 targets in a game in his last 3 games, more or less 5 catches. 3 catches on 7 targets combined over the last 3 games. I anticipate they're going to continue running and operating their offense the way they have over the last few weeks or so, which means a lot of Deebo Samuel in the backfield and not so much Deebo Samuel as a pure wide receiver. So I'm going to take the under here while this number is still this high.
All right. Thank you, Jamie. And for my first Go for Two pick, I'm looking at the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Broncos game. The Bengals and Broncos, of course, meet up this week in what essentially you could say is a playoff game. All right. These teams are evenly matched, but I think the Bengals are in a better spot this week. Cincinnati, if you're looking at them right now, they're 4-2 against the spread and 4-2 on the money line on the road this season. The Broncos are 5-3 against the spread and on the money line as favorites this season. All right. So all things to consider, but all of those wins came versus teams that are below the 500 level on the season. So something to consider. Denver has done a good job of beating up on weaker opponents this season, but the Bengals are undervalued this week. So give me Bengals at +3 for my first Go for Two pick. And hopefully this puts me over the edge this week, Jamie. I want to get back on top of that leaderboard. All right, Jamie, give me your second Go for Two pick for this week.
I'm going to go with another wide receiver here. I'm going to go Deontay Johnson over 80.5 receiving yards. He was just under this total last week, but he's getting a lot of work over the last 5 games, averaging a whopping 12.2 targets per game, averaging 92 yards per game in that stretch. He's going to get a lot of work in this matchup, and I think the Steelers are going to have to continue to throw the ball His workload is pretty consistent, and he's not celebrating and wasting time after getting first downs when the clock's running out. So I imagine that his role in the offense will continue to excel. So I know this is a high number, but give me this. He's also hit this in the majority of his last handful of games as well.
Jamie woke up choosing violence, taking shots on this show. We won't say any names, but hey, yes, come on. Y'all always got to be aware of the clock. That's what I'll say. For my second go for two pick this week, I'm looking at Cowboys at Giants. You can handicap this week for the Cowboys, much like last week. And Dak Prescott, despite not playing well as of late, he has 18-8 against the spread versus NFC East teams. Prescott is 7-3 on the money line and 8-2 against the spread versus the Giants. So one of the against the spread losses was in a game where he broke his ankle. So all that to say, give me Cowboys -11 for my second go for two pick. I know, DC. I know. All right, be nice to me. All right, Jamie. Now let's go to our bold bets, Jamie. Excited to see what you have.
Yeah, so I like everybody just to sit back and think about all the things that they've done since Christmas Eve of 2016. Right? Okay. It's been some time now. We're coming up on 5 years. Yeah. You've done a lot of things. You've probably done a lot of things twice. Well, one thing Kirk Cousins hasn't done twice is beat the Bears. He's only done this one time since Christmas Eve of 2016. Yet the Bears are at home this week in a cold game here in Chicago, just outside of my apartment. I'm going to take the Bears money line here. I'm getting more than 2-1 return on this right now. I know they're going to have a lot of different coordinators. Matt Nagy's calling the plays again and all this whatnot, but I'm just not a believer in the Minnesota Vikings right now. This is a matchup they have struggled to match up against. They're on the road. I actually think the Bears have a really good chance in this game. So at more than 2-1 just on the money line, give me the Bears as my bold prediction.
I just want the Kirk Cousins. You like that? I just want that video clip. All right, folks, if Kirk Cousins gets the win, we absolutely love that. But hey, 2016, I was much younger, Jamie, but you're right. How many things have you done twice since then? Oh, it was good life pre-COVID, Jamie. So also thank you for that visual. It was nice when we weren't in this crazy pandemic also. So there was that too, when we had NFL players not going on COVID-19 lists. But look, folks, hopefully one day we'll be back to that. For my bold bet this week, look, the last thing I thought I would be doing this season was betting on the Atlanta Falcons, all right? I'm perfectly sane. But with that being said, Atlanta is 5-2 against the spread on the road this season. I like the Falcons to get the outright victory over the Niners. That's right, I said it, folks. Atlanta plus 320 on the money line. Falcons upset the Niners. All right. So there you go. I'm feeling good about it. Feeling great. This is a bold bet. This is what we do on this show. Go bold or go home. And you can't be on the show if you can't go bold enough. Jamie, that was fun. And again, lots of great games to look forward to. Hopefully injuries and COVID did not continue to ravish our week 15 of NFL football, because football fans, again, right now, we're counting down. We're looking at LA. We're thinking about the Super Bowl, but hopefully we can get there in one piece and in one tactic. And hopefully some of these teams have time to rest some of their guys up to get better and to get healthier. Thank you so much, as always, Jamie. And thank you to all of you for tuning in to another episode of The Money Down. We appreciate you staying with us all show long. We'll be back at 11:45 a.m. Eastern time this coming Sunday on the Money Down NFL show presented by BetPrep, right here on the Draft Network for week 16 of NFL action. So again, tune in next week, 11:45 a.m. Eastern time. And as always, please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Hit subscribe, please. See you all next show. We cannot wait to see you all, and enjoy football this week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. We've just got lots of football. So enjoy it, have fun, and hopefully all your teams win. Bye, guys.